it's amazing, and to see how that part of the business has grown, but to also then elevate the guest experience here is that, hey, you know, yeah, you can come in for a bev and then pop over somewhere else downtown, you know, for dinner. But what's cool is that I think more and more, you know, our customers are realizing, oh, like I can come here and I can just hang out and I can be fed and I can share a snack, or I can actually have a meal, grab some live music and just enjoy and be inside or out. You know, it's a little bit of everything, and I like that we've it's just amazing how we've grown to that point, and I'm really excited about where we're going. Even though we're a brewery, you know, the idea of Fireforge was that we always wanted to create with passion and serve with enthusiasm, and I felt like you knew that without anyone ever, you know, telling you that. But, you know, even though I feel like we are always trying to reinforce it, you know, with our team. But, you know, it's not just about the beer, it's the hospitality, it's the food, and then how does that all play together? Because I think, you know, at the end of the day, we are actually a hospitality company, and so that all works together, from the music to the lighting to the food to the beer list, and then what goes behind the scenes to bring all that forward. So, you know, I don't know if our guests always see behind the scenes. I don't know if they should. It can get pretty hot in that kitchen. But as we worked together, you forced me to really dig into what are the values behind our growing menu and building, you know, our kitchen team, because we ended up cross-training most of the people on our team. So, like, what went into the process for you to develop those?
From previous jobs, working for mission-driven and value-driven companies, and seeing how important that can be to push your team to the next level, but then also to give people who are in leadership guiding principles or guiding values to, like, lead the team to success. And so when I first met you, I remember sitting down with you and Catherine and kind of getting an idea of where you guys were, but where you wanted to be ultimately. And I think figuring out where you wanted to be allowed us to kind of create values that help us continue to be successful, because I really do think the values we have currently allow us to make the decisions that we do. And I think we're growing in a really good way and very authentic way because of it. So,
well, you know, one of the things that, maybe not necessarily in any particular order, but, you know, the first one that does come to mind for me is like our commitment to quality. Mm-hmm. You know, I think when it comes to the beer, if there's certain, whether it's a small batch or even one of our larger batches, if it's not hitting the mark, we either need to make adjustments, or it doesn't make it to the tap wall at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, how do you feel that plays into what we do in the kitchen from a quality perspective?
One of the fails actually kind of plays into that too. So in the very beginning, when I was first coming on, trying to kind of understand the dynamic, I knew that we needed to build an Italian. There was a vision.
I'm originally from the Midwest and have pretty strong Italian roots. My grandmother's maiden name is Lupica, her parents were from Sicily, and she spent some of her childhood there. One thing I miss about up north is the old world ethnic food that you just don't find here. So like we do with a lot of our beers, we take a traditional recipe and put our own spin on it. Our Italian sub plays homage to the classic sandwich with our own Italian dressing, 3 types of Italian meats. To take it up a notch, we toss on spicy sweet peppadews and pickled red onions. Of course, we use sharp provolone because that's the right thing to do. Then we sprinkle on some Italian seasoning and top it with iceberg lettuce for a little crunch. But the most important thing is the bread. It has to be a classic Italian-style hoagie roll, so we import them from Philadelphia.
But I hadn't really experienced Italians very much, and so I was like, I have an understanding of what it is, but we just got finished doing this like really fun creative charcuterie board, so I'm like, I can make it a little weird. And that first iteration, our first draft of the Italian, I remember us sitting or standing around each other, and Brian's face was just like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is not to the quality standards, because this is not an Italian to him and his vision, and how can we bring up from this, take this failure and make it better and make it a higher quality and make it really not only what we want, but what our guests are going to enjoy. Because now knowing who our guests are, I agree that first Italian would not have been up to standard.
Well, yeah, it's interesting with ingredient selection, and I know it was so hard for us to find like the right bread, a quintessential Italian hoagie for the Italian sandwich, and but then also I think what really just pulled it all together was that you nailed this Italian dressing, which was I just want this the rest of my life. If this is in the Italian dressing category, this is it. And I think, it's just one element of that sandwich, but like you can't fake that, or you'd know if that was store-bought, and the fact that we do that from scratch is like so cool. But it's the Italian dressing I want for the rest of my life, just saying.
So another one of our values is the story, and I think my favorite is the charcuterie board. So tell me, how did you decide you wanted Fireforge to have a seasonal charcuterie board?
So there's a small group of friends. Several of them are home brewers, and as the years have gone on, or have gone on to open their own breweries, or are in the process of that. But it's this mythical, magical mountain weekend called Barley Wine Weekend, and that in and of itself has evolved over time. But it usually involved lots of beer tastings. Originally, it used to be a bunch of strong ales and barley wines on a Sunday. We've had to kind of loosen that up a little bit and bring in some other styles of beer. So we enjoy pretty much everything now. But we would then together just build this amazing spread of meat and cheese and mustards and crackers and breads and accoutrements and little fancy jams, and just but it was also this like, let's just find like really weird yet tasty things that are going to go really well, or we hope, with all the different beers we're trying, great for palate cleansers or moving on to the next barley wine or whatever. And so we just thought, well, we always wanted to have a seasonal charcuterie board, on our menu at Fireforge, and it's so fun, and it's just really neat to see how we've brought that forward. And then in the meantime, we're also working with local cheesemakers like Blue Ridge Creamery, and then getting produce seasonally from Swamp Rabbit Food Hub, but then also we're just like crushing it with like really yummy little chutneys and jams and spreads, and we've got our Fireforge mustard. I know it's not on the board at the moment, but man, we've got that in our back pocket the next time it's time to bring that out. So Barley Wine Weekend will live forever in we didn't do it this past January because we all agreed we didn't want to have to quarantine for 2 weeks before going to Barley Wine Weekend. So we'll go back in full force in 2022. And that's the story behind that. We just like to, what's the word?
Eat and drink?
Yeah. I was going to be like decadence? No.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Playful decadence, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, what I love about when we bring forward a new season of the Adult Lunchable is sitting down with everything, and then it's just a reason to do all these little pours of all of our beers and see what's gonna go best with different things. And I feel like our Belgian beer always, like, done. Belgian beer always works, I think, with that. And then it's always fun to see how our IPAs, interplay with different things as well. So there's always, and then you could just do wine.
Yeah.
I love our wine. Our wine program's good too. So we got to talk about what goes into making
Oh gosh.
the guess what chicken butt slider. Because unless you've just watched that happen on a Tuesday, Wednesday, it's so worth it though.
It's a full day event. Usually we let the chicken, it comes in on Tuesday, and we'll let it thaw. And then we'll bring it out, we'll clean it up, get all that blood and guts out of it. And we'll let it thaw for about 30, 45 minutes, get a little bit closer to room temperature. And we'll put butter with a little bit of sage that's in it and different kinds of spices, so compound butter, on the outside and in the skin to give it a little bit extra crisp. And then we'll pick a really awesome beer to put up its butt. Don't know a better way of saying that. And then we'll grill it on indirect heat for not quite 2 hours, but pretty close to it until it's the proper food temp. It just varies depending on how large the chicken is or how tiny the chicken is. And then once we take it off, we'll let it rest for a little bit, and we'll begin to break it down and shred it up and make it really yummy to then put into our chicken salad. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is quite literally a full day to just break down and cook and break down the chicken. But it's totally worth it. Beer butt chicken is delicious. It infuses the beer. Yeah. It's soft. It's tender. Yeah. It's moist. It's succulent. Yes, it's a really good way of cooking chicken. So it's really tasty by itself. But then also, I really like how we complement it with like peppery arugula.
Oh yeah.
And then a sweet Hawaiian roll. Who would have thought that little guy, the little slider, would be so tasty? But it really is.
They're just so fun and perky looking.
Mm-hmm. And they fill you up without making you feel bad, too.
Wow, what a notion.
So I think going forward, hopefully this pandemic will slowly drift into background noise and everybody will be safe and vaccinated if you choose to do so. But I think it'd be really cool to bring back monthly dinners as well. So have monthly barbecues and have monthly dinners, whether we're hosting it ourselves or we're bringing in like naked pasta again, somebody we've already worked with for that, and being able to work with really cool local chefs or local vendors and create a really special experience for guests who want that. And it'd stay small, but a ticketed event where people could really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I really want to... Supper Club.
We're getting it going, and then the world shut down, so we can bring it back.
So bringing it back.
Yeah.
So where do you want the kitchen to go? Where is your vision?
Well, I mean, I know there's only so much counter space and equipment that we can put in our mighty little prep kitchen before science just says, please don't do this. So I know we do have, some work to do, in there. But, I think where we're going, especially with maybe some changes in there, is the idea of like cozy comfort fare and kind of like our take on maybe even like old world style food, but that is fresher, more colorful, and inventive in flavor combinations, but are still going to give you that comforting feeling of a hug, but also a hug that you don't regret later. That's what I would love for us to strive for.
Nice.
Yeah.